All right, here we go. Betting Weekly Live here with you on a Tuesday. Mike Carver along with Doug Kezirian as we get ready for all of the action tonight. We have got NBA, we have got NHL, a really good night of college basketball. We will start to look ahead to the NFL and the college football for this weekend as well, as we usually do here on a Tuesday. Very, very busy day. Of course, Betting Weekly Studio is part of the Bet Rivers Network. Great to have you aboard. Doug, good to see you as always, my man, and on fire. I just saw Gillespie hit another three right before we came on, Doug. He's still knocking them down after last night.
Well, it's always a nice flex when you can cash a prop in the first half, and then he triples the prop output. So that's kind of nice. Of course, my handicap was saying that he can still do it off the bench. Not that I was wrong, and my angle wasn't saying, oh, because he's on the bench, he's going to be better. I'm just saying, like, he's getting his minutes regardless, and he's worth a play. And frankly, there was less talent. Like, Booker was out for the game midway, early second quarter, and he was like the focal point of the Lakers defense, and clearly he's that good. So it's a great story, one of the better stories in the NBA. I just think there's value every day with this guy, and I'm going to keep playing it.
And unfortunately for me, Doug, I ran the roulette of the Patriots last night, and it did not fall on Stephon Diggs. It probably didn't help that they were smashing the Giants so early in that game either, like they did. I should have just stuck with the Pucks. The Pucks were good. We got that late night at the Shark Tank.
I don't know what's going on with you, man. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think that phrase has got to make it over to the Carver household.
Well, we're going back to the Pucks tonight for the Daily Double, especially after we had a couple winners last night on the ice. But we will start tonight's Betting Weekly Live with the NBA. We have 6 games this evening, of course, starting with the NBC/Peacock doubleheader. Of course, on the East Coast, 8 o'clock East, you get on NBC, the Knicks into Boston against the Celtics, Thunder Warriors, the late game. We'll talk about that in a moment, Doug, but we will begin right there in Beantown. Right now, the Knicks, -1, road favorite at Bet Rivers, 231.5 is the total for the big marquee game on NBC.
These Knicks Celtics things are always a little tricky. Both teams are shorthanded this year. We don't really know what to make of them. Boston's been really tricky with the substitution and playing time that Missoula's been kind of messing around with Simons. And then each team has had guys in and out of the lineup, right? Like even something as, Landry Shamet out for a while, things like that. And, we have different favorites. We've had a change of favorites in this game. I just really think it's coming down to the wire. I mean, it's going to be a classic, Atlantic Division, Knicks, Celtics. It's in Beantown. I lean, I guess, Knicks -1, but it's just really hard to kind of have a strong angle here. Some of the headaches are guys like Pritchard. What do you go for 42 in the last game, things like that. But then he's been inconsistent. So I think that's the issue, is the inconsistency of everything. And that's okay. Don't have to force it.
You do not have to force it. And yes, I kind of lean to the Knicks tonight as well in that game. Of course, you can join the conversation in the chat box. A guy called Ed A. The Dogs did well in the NBA last night. Lakers and Nuggets would fool around. I was very surprised with the Nuggets, Doug. I did kind of jump in on that a little later in the night. And man, they got smashed by the Mavs, to be quite honest with you. They were like never in the game. And
Jamal Murray got hurt mid-game, and they're already without Aaron Gordon, already without Christian Brown. So then it's Jokic and the Pips. It's like Jokic and the Pips with 3 starters out at that juncture. And Dallas was bringing it. I actually jumped in on Dallas Live myself. Now, sometimes you got to be careful in those situations because you're right. The better team can flip the switch, but with 3 starters out, they may not be the better team. And so I'm on board with the Dogs last night. And the one thing I overlooked was the Chris Middleton revenge factor thing with the Wiz. That was something to be considered. His 2 highest scoring games this year are the 2 meetings with the Bucks. I don't think it's coincidence. So you got to be careful with the Dogs sometimes, or the favorites, I should say. But I like a big fave today we'll get into.
And I'm sure, the one thing I saw from the Laker game also, other than Gillespie still hitting threes left and right, was this clip of Redick yelling at LeBron out of a timeout where he was kind of goofing off by the bench with the Suns players. Redick got mad, called the timeout, brought him. They were down, what, Doug, 20, 25 at the time when that was happening. So that's making the rounds today, the LeBron JJ Redick clip.
Yeah, I could not. I can't remember the last time I've seen the Lakers as disinterested as they were. I was listening to the broadcast, and Derek Fisher had a really astute observation, and he said, you can take a look. This team doesn't have it tonight, and JJ Redick's being very soft, like he's not criticizing the lack of efforts. You sort of learn, I'm sure, through his coaching. He's only been coaching a year and a half, but he's been around the NBA a long time. Is through 82 games, there's going to be a couple nights where they're not there. The legs aren't there. It's a back-to-back. So instead of just cracking the whip and trying to be the bad guy and trying to motivate them for that one game, you're kind of just punting on the game. You're staying positive or the few things, seeing if maybe Luka can flip the switch or something like that. But it was not happening last night. Let's just put it that.
No.
The Suns wanted that game a lot more, and the Lakers just didn't have their legs.
It was not happening. The second game tonight, of course, if you're on the West Coast, 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 on the East on Peacock, you will have the Thunder and the Warriors. Of course, we know about the Thunder this year. Unbelievable, 20-1 as they head to the chase. Minus 11.5 for the Thunder at BetRivers, 223 flat the total.
I'm surprised how much I like OKC tonight because the Warriors are good. They're a team I've been betting on here and there, but they have their faults, and the Thunder don't have a ton. And obviously, J-Dub is back, so they're even more potent than they were maybe a couple weeks ago. But if you look at this team, you mentioned the 20-1. They're 10-11 ATS though. So if you do a deeper dive, and obviously there's no category of big game or good team, but when they face those teams, those games, they actually step on the gas a little bit. So they've blown out the Warriors already. Now that was in OKC, but they've sort of ratcheted up the big games and pummeled some teams. And I think they're going to do that again. Let me put it this way. I touched on it yesterday with the Portland game. So on Sunday, they played Portland, and Portland had a lead at the half. Okay. That's because the previous meeting, the Thunder beat them by 40, and they stepped on the gas in that game. Now, why did they do that? Portland's not like a marquee game. It's because Portland is the only team that delivered a loss to this OKC squad. So they kind of wanted revenge, and they stepped on the gas. I think Steph and company bring out the best. Now, it's obviously not the 2017 Warriors roster, but I think they bring out the best in the Thunder. It's the measuring stick sort of greatness of Draymond and everything. So I think the Thunder can kind of flip the switch here and get the cover.
Well, it can't be easy, Doug. These games where they play teams like the Pelicans and
right.
Some of these, they're laying like 17, 18 points in these games. Like that is not easy to just breeze out there and cover. I don't care how good you are. There's a lot of backdoor activity that goes on with lines of 17, 18, 19.
Very much so. And that's why they're 10-11 against the spread. And sometimes that second unit they've also covered some big numbers because they're so deep. But now that they're at full strength, now no Hartenstein, so he's a big factor for them. But they're very deep, and the Warriors have some issues here and there. They're a little long in the tooth. They got some nagging injuries. I'm not sold on Podziemski. I like Kuminga in terms of his upside, but he's involved in trade rumors, so they're not perfect either. So I think it's a regular play for me on the Thunder.
There you go. Thunder tonight at the chase against the Warriors, 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 East, NBC or Peacock, depending on where you are. Let's do a couple of the other ones tonight. The Sixers are at home for the Wizards. Right now, Sixers minus 13.5. This has gotten up to 234.5 is the total. Of course, you mentioned the Wizards before. They played and won at home against the Bucks last night. So second night of a back-to-back for them.
Yeah, I like the Sixers a lot here. I haven't been betting on them much this year because they've been tough to figure out with their rotations, but this is a bet against Washington more than it is a bet against or on Philly. So the Wiz only have 3 wins this year. The previous 2 wins, after their win, they lost by 26 in the next game, and then they lost by 33 in the next game of the second loss. So here we are in the third loss. I don't expect much fortitude and resistance, and this is a back-to-back. The Wiz are off a win. It was a big game, so to speak. Middleton, I know these are kind of narratives and they can be silly, but I do think they apply. And I think the Sixers just go for the jugular, and it's a rout. And I think there's ways to sort of play this creatively, because if you think about it, like the NBA gives us certain bets on the board, right? And the game flows a certain way. And then obviously when it's a big number like this, maybe the back door is open. So you can bet minus 13.5, and I certainly am. And I like that. But I do think you can, I touched on it yesterday with the props of Knippel and Colin Sexton. We went 2-0. I said there's a much better chance to go 2-0 than 0-2. And the risk of that is the 1-1, you eat the juice. First quarter and second quarter in this game are each 4.5. I think the Wizards can be so gross in this game that they get rolled in each quarter. If the Wiz somehow hang around for the first quarter, I think the Sixers step on it in the second quarter. So I think the worst you can do if you bet each first quarter and second quarter, it's not first quarter, first half. It's first quarter and second quarter, each are 4.5. And then if you go 1-1, that's fine. But I do think you have a good shot at going 2-0. I just don't know when the Wizards are going to hit a wall, but I know they're going to hit a wall. So, and I'm still laying the 13.5, but I think there's a fun way to play it. Small unit there. But I just think it's like a way to sort of handicap the effort and performance while also playing a numbers game, so to speak. And I think that's a smart way to play it.
And is that also, like you mentioned, doing first and second quarter? So is that kind of then you're taking out the potential of maybe they are smashing them by 25 or 30 and things kind of get out of hand? Is that why you want to maybe stay away from third quarter? Because I was like, third quarter is 3.5. Fourth quarter, they have.
Okay, I didn't see it. I would play every quarter. I call this the wheel from craps, right? You got to sprinkle all the numbers. I would do it because I think you're just going to win 3 out of 4 quarters if you can. I'd still play the 13.5 as the main play, but I just don't see the Wizards off a win, back-to-back travel, playing well in multiple sort of stretches of time.
Right.
So the more you can chop it up and then have that advantage, because if this is a 35-point route, you're going to win 3 of 4 quarters kind of thing.
Well, yeah. Third quarter at Bet Rivers right now, minus 3.5.
Nice.
Fourth quarter, minus 2.5 for the Sixers. So they do have
and they're factoring in the blowout, and that's okay. And again, if you sweep the first 3 and you got 13.5, you can just eat the juice and play the other 2.5, play plus 2.5, eat the juice. But it just gives you nice sort of nice pieces in your portfolio where you can play, because I just don't think the Wizards are going to show up. And by the way, Alex Sarr is out. He's big in their on-off splits for the Wiz, and you got Bagley starting at center. I like what Bagley's done to resurrect his career as a role player. He's done some nice things. I've watched a lot of Wizards games, sadly. Unrelated note, I'm a bachelor. Go figure. So, yeah, I just think he's a big piece missing, and I think they got their win, and I just don't think they're professionally mature or experienced enough to come back with a solid performance tonight to do what it takes to keep this inside the number. I just think there's more ways to kind of play it. I don't know if you can do same game parlays like that, even though they're not correlated. It's not like you're doing first quarter, first half. You're doing separate bets. I also like the Wizards team total under. They've laid some serious eggs. Now, Sixers are going to push pace, but remember, guys, it's the NBA. It's 82 games. We have these horrible efforts. We just touched on the Lakers game last night. That was a back-to-back at home, though. No travel. I think the Wiz could get run out of the gym here.
Very well could this evening. I'm going to get involved there with those quarters and have a little fun with that. The other games tonight on the schedule, Portland's in Toronto against the Raptors. Raptors are minus 5.5. That's the first night of a back-to-back. Portland's on an East Coast trip. This is the start of it. I think they're playing in Cleveland tomorrow night. So you have the Raptors here, Doug, minus 5.5 with the 232 at Bet Rivers. I would like a lot of those Raptor overs early in the year, but they have been on a big under push. Especially over the last week or two, playing a lot of unders now.
Yeah, this is an interesting stretch for Portland because I like them a lot. I really like Avdia. They hit some big shots. They took OKC down to the wire. It was like a 4-point game with 4 minutes to go, and then of course, the Thunder won by like 9. But they played the Spurs and Thunder back-to-back, who are really good teams, okay? Even the Spurs, this version, can get up and down. Then they're at Toronto, Cleveland, and Detroit. So I don't know if I see a win in this stretch. They've already gone 0-2 with those first 2 opponents. Now they got to go 0-3. I think this is a really tough spot. I don't know how much is left in the tank. They put a lot into that OKC game. Now I know they're young, but it's a day off and then travel. I'd be careful here with the Blazers. These games aren't played in a vacuum. Tough travel spot. I lean Raptors, but there's a tax here. 5.5's the right number. If it were 4.5, I'd be probably getting involved.
Minnesota's in New Orleans against the Pelicans, who are dreadful, of course, at 3-18. Minnesota, this is a big number now. It's up to 12. The news just came out that Zion's going to miss at least another 3 weeks with an abductor. Man, he never plays, Doug. It's amazing. Zion just never plays. Minus 12 for Minnie tonight, 231.5 the total. You know, they sometimes mess around with these games against lesser teams as well, Minnesota, and not cover these numbers.
I totally agree. So I like New Orleans a little bit in this game. They've turned the corner. Now we were picking on the Pelicans earlier this year, but that's when they had everyone out, right? They're 10-9-2 ATS. Okay, so yeah, they're 3-18 straight up. They're 10-9-2. And this Minnesota team, the problem is the T-Wolves can flip a switch. They were in a rock fight or battle all game with the Spurs and then ended up winning by 15 in the fourth quarter. That would be my only concern, especially without Zion. But the T-Wolves' effort, I question in this game, and the Pelicans' effort, I never question. The problem is they have some random dudes that with Zion out, like they're giving a lot of run to Fears and Messi and all these dudes and Bryce McCowens, and I get a little worried. But when guys like Jordan Hawkins play, I'm very optimistic because he can get buckets. Sadiq Bey is solid, has been for a long time. You just, at some point, the talent takes over. Like there's only so much Jose Alvarado can do. And so without Zion, I get worried. Herb Jones is out as well. So this is a spot where I cannot get involved. I need Herb Jones. I need Sadiq Bey. I need Jordan Hawkins to play. If there's no Zion, I need those other guys to play because the whole Derek Queen, we need to play him and get the learning curve, so to speak, the trial by fire. Like I'm not in the business of that when I have one game to bet on. So I don't need to suffer through all that if I'm catching 12 because the T-Wolves can flip the switch.
And the last game tonight, the Grizzlies are in San Antonio against the Spurs. The Grizzlies have actually won 5 out of 6. 4 of those wins were on the road, which is where they are tonight, getting 5 against the Spur team, 233 flat the total.
And I've been betting them quite a bit. I love this Grizzlies team when Morant's not playing. So he's been out a while, and they've sort of figured it out life without him. And I like Cam Spencer a lot. Cedric Howard and Jalen Wells, both from Wazoo. They've been solid. Edey is an absolute beast. I could not have been more wrong about projecting him. The Spurs are going to run up and down. My thing is Spurs probably cover because they're such a beast, but the Grizzlies as a dog are like 10-2 ATS or something ridiculous. So they've been as a favorite. So in the dog roll, I would lean Spurs here. We're probably going to have a track meet. It just comes down to the Spurs threes and that second unit of bombing threes and Sochan running the break and things like that. So it's going to be a fun game. The Grizzlies are really well coached, great player development in the front office, great draft. I like this organization. I hope they can move Morant because I like all the other pieces. They just need some legit talent alongside Jaren Jackson Jr.
Don't forget tonight at Bet Rivers, they've got the NBA Midweek Live Profit Boost for you. Players log on to your Bet Rivers app. You'll receive an NBA Live Profit Boost upon the login every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. See your Bet Rivers app or the website for full details. NBA Midweek Live Profit Boost. That is going tonight. 6 games for you to get involved with that. All right, Betting Weekly Live here on a Tuesday. Mike Carver, Doug Kezirian. We have got college hoops too. Maybe the best night. I know last week was good with Feast Week and all those games in Vegas, but in terms of big-time matchups, the ACC-SEC Challenge over the next couple of days is going to have some big ones for us. But not only do we have that, the Big Ten is starting some conference play early as well. So some really good games tonight, Doug. Why don't we start with Iowa and Michigan State? Both of these teams 7-0 out of the gate. Michigan State laying 5 at home at the Breslin. 131.5 is the total.
This is an interesting game. So Ben McCollum's in his first year with the Hawkeyes, right? And he knows the region, having coached at Drake, but he doesn't know Big Ten play. And I just wonder if Izzo's going to hand him everything on a silver platter tonight and just work him, right? Sparty's been pretty impressive. I know we know January, February, Izzo, but this team's been pretty strong out of the gates when they had some big games. And conference play, all that, but they manhandled North Carolina. They also took care of business against Arkansas and Kentucky in high-profile games. This number feels cheap. I think the Hawkeyes are good. This number feels a little cheap. I thought it'd be like 6.5. So I like Sparty. I'm not playing it. Maybe I get involved a little bit. I think Michigan State's the right side here. I think this is just going to be a different world where the Hawks are going to roll into, and I don't think they've really been tested in this 7-0 start.
That's the thing for me in this game, Doug. Michigan State has beaten North Carolina. They've beaten Arkansas. They've beaten Kentucky. Like, they were actually out to the 7-0 start, and they have beaten some big-time teams, whereas Iowa, hey, we can get a little excited, I guess, beating Xavier, beating Ole Miss, but it's just not on the same level for me. This is a little welcome to the Big Ten moment tonight. I like Michigan State a lot with that -5 in this one. Next, let's get into some of these ACC SEC games. Tennessee to the Dome against Syracuse. Tennessee -7.5. 146.5 is the total. Of course, we saw Syracuse last week in Bay with some big number against Houston. This one not as big, 7.5 at home.
So I played Houston against Tennessee last week, kind of mad at myself because it was such a revenge variable from the Elite Eight, I want to say, last year in the tournament. But this is the first true road game for the Vols. So that has me a little concerned, but this Syracuse team leaves a lot to be desired. Great. They have Carmelo Anthony's son. I know. It's cool. Whatever. In Tennessee, week off, should be ready here. I think going to the Carrier Dome, it's not just a random road game. It'll have their attention. Syracuse is horrible on the free throw line as well. So even if Tennessee's physicality induces a favorable whistle for the Orange, I'm not too concerned because the free throw, we're talking like 50-something%. And I think the Vols offense is really solid as opposed to some recent years where they had, I'm blanking on the point guard, and the little point guard, he couldn't really generate offense that much besides orchestrate the offense. So they've taken the next step. And I think Tennessee pulls away here. So I lean the Vols.
I like that you called it the Carrier Dome. It'll always be the Carrier Dome to us.
As
much as
the
they want to try to tell
Pittsburgh.
you the JMA wireless whatever dome. No, it's always going to be.
Wasn't it ever called the peel, like the orange peel?
The orange peel. They could have made the roof, like put a little shades of orange up there. They could have. See, now that's marketing, Doug. They got to get you involved there. That was, now Boeheim's gone. They'll be more open to listen to things like that.
They get Minute Maid in there and stuff.
Really good one. Probably maybe the game of the night here. Number 15, Florida, visiting number 4, Duke. Duke -8.5, 156 the total. I expect a little up and down, back and forth here. Maybe a little over for me tonight, Doug, with Florida and Duke.
I love these situations. The Duke covering, maybe it's not the best analogy because Duke is expected to win, but it's kind of like the Bears just keep on covering and winning, right? So I've been on Duke, a couple of these late covers. They been laying numbers like 9.5 and 10.5 early in the season, and they covered late with strong finishes. I'd be so mad if I was fading them and like martingaling it and trying to just press. Now, I've actually been on the right side of these Duke sort of, I don't want to say fluky, but fortunate covers. Now I'm ready to zag. I think Florida can keep this inside the number. The Duke sort of power rating is a little inflated because of those fluky covers, if you will. So I have to play the dog here. I think Gators have enough depth. They're not the same team that they were last year. We get it. They're not the defending champs. They are the defending champs in terms of the program, but this isn't the same team that they trotted out there. With that being said, 8.5's a lot. I think they'll be up for Cameron Indoor. I just don't want to run to the window here because Duke does have the firepower, and obviously the crowd will be rocking.
Let's just get a lot of points then. Let's just score a ton of points and go over 156.
All right,
why not?
Do that.
Up and away tonight at Cameron Indoor. I'm going to flip Max here for a minute because I want to finish the ACC SEC games first. North Carolina at Kentucky, also an ACC SEC challenge game. Kentucky -6. And if you like big totals, 163.5. That'll really get you going.
So it's important to recognize the total when you have these big numbers, right? Especially Duke with a higher number than this, but it's 6. I like the dog here. Carolina, I think they've kind of, I'm hoping that they can figure it out, right? They haven't played in a while. I handful of days, I should say. I just think they can kind of find their groove again with the one that beat Kansas. Kentucky, I like them, and it's at Rupp, and they can score, but they've also been manhandled in their two biggest games against Louisville and Michigan State. So I think I'm gonna have to grab the points here. I'm a little gun shy on it just because it's going to be a great atmosphere. I got to take plus that. Like, would I be absolutely stunned taking the dog? I mean, if they won outright, I mean, that's the thing. That's why I don't want to take Florida plus those points is like, I don't think they can win. So is 8.5, like, usually you don't need that as like a rule of thumb to take the dog. I think like 6 is like the cutoff. Like, do you think they can win? And if you don't, then you probably shouldn't take the +6. I think UNC could win. I'm thinking this is covering. I'll need the points. I don't want the money line, but it's a short enough number that you have to at least have that in the back of your head, and I do. So I lean to the dog here.
Lean to the dog with UNC tonight at Rupp against Kentucky. The other games in the ACC SEC tonight: Missouri, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Wake Forest, Texas A&M, Pitt, Miami, Ole Miss, Georgia, Florida State. If you remember, Doug, last year, the SEC demolished the ACC in this thing. So maybe we look to some of the ACC teams, try to show a little face this year and actually show up in some of these spots. Would be nice.
What about the Big East with the con?
Well, we're going there. We are going there next because this is also a candidate for game of the night. And that is at Allen Fieldhouse, UConn visiting Kansas. UConn, the road favorite, -2, 143.5.
I like the road team here. I know it's the fog and everything, but I think this is like Danny Hurley's Graceland, and he's going to bring it in this game, and everybody's going to be ready for this game. And Kansas is shorthanded, right?
Yep.
And they've been playing well, and I've been impressed with their performance out here in Vegas. Without their studs, I just think it's going to catch up to him. I think Hurley's X's and O's and all that is going to be. They're going to be ready for this game and this atmosphere. And if I'm going to take a road favorite at Fog Allen, it better be a darn good team and a darn good coach, and that's what you have with the Huskies. So I'll do it.
This is like the first true road game, I think, for UConn through this. So they might have played one neutral. I think they have maybe one neutral site in there, but that's that. And look, give these guys credit, Doug. Kansas and UConn, Self and Hurley, they played monstrous out of conference. Same thing with, obviously, we were talking about Michigan State before. Getting ready for the season, getting ready for
but they're not bubble teams. They're not going to be bubble teams, so it's not going to burn them. It's the fringe teams. But I think Kansas is getting sort of a free roll. They don't have Peterson, and if it doesn't go well, they'll be like, well, we didn't have Peterson. Then that's like perfect for them. Not that you want to get guys hurt, of course, but it's played out a certain way where you can develop other guys and everything. But I think UConn's the right side here.
Number 1, Purdue in action to open their Big Ten schedule also in Piscataway at the Rack against Rutgers, which, of course, this is now been traveling between 13.5 and 14.5 with Purdue tonight on the road in that one. And you have a late night Big Ten game because why did we go to the West Coast? So we can get USC and Oregon at 10 o'clock East for the Big Ten game. So we have that also late night, Doug, if you're interested.
Classic Big Ten matchup there.
As good as it gets.
What do you make of the Ducks? I tried to back them last week. They're 4-3. Dana Altman, all this. USC undefeated at the buzzer beater against Troy, but they're still undefeated. At some point, Oregon's going to kind of flex, and the home dog's going to bark and all that. I've been impressed with the Trojans. I really have. And it's USC or pass until told otherwise. And there's a tax here. It was 2. Now it's up to 3. It went to 2.5. Now it's 3. I'm not running to the window here, but Oregon will turn this around. I just don't want to have to kind of, thread the needle and try to pick the game.
I haven't felt good about them, Doug, since that. I remember that first game we talked about them. They were laying some weird number at home to Hawaii. Yeah. They only won the game by 1. And then they went and got smashed last week in Vegas by, San Diego State and Creighton and some of the. I'm kind of a little wait and see what happens with Oregon. They're not going to be on my
I
radar in
think that's
terms
the
of
right move.
playing them right now. Any women tonight? I know the UConn men are in action. Do we have any women's games tonight?
Yeah, I mean, thank God we're moving the show up an hour because this line keeps going up. Another hour to be over 40.
Jeez.
It is over 40. Jeez, it was 26 and a half this morning. Then it was 32 and a half, then 38 and a half. Here we are, 40 and a half. Huskies are loaded. AZ Fudd's obviously really good. Freshman they have is the best player in the country by a lot of people's opinion. Big East is a joke in ladies hoops, and UConn should roll them here. They're going to win by 50.
Going to win by 50. So we're still okay. Even though it's gone 32, 36, 40 still okay. We could still rock in there with 40 and a half. All right.
Well, we learned that the heartache that can come, come at the end of the games when we laid 60 and a half or 61 and a half with LSU. By the way, LSU's playing Duke this week, and get ready to load up on the Tigers. Unfortunately, I did not do the ladder for the Gillespie threes. Maybe I should have done it in game once Booker went to the bench and everything. But either way, I think we're okay there. I think that 40 and a half is probably the cutoff for the Huskies.
I got mad when I knew that Diggs wasn't going to get the 48 and a half receiving yards, and I took the Gillespie for 4+. And I put him with what should have been the daily double, which was the over in the Shark Utah game in the hockey. So I made my own daily double afterwards. I was mad about Diggs. UConn doubleheader night, women in 5-minute 9. There from Petey. So join the conversation with us in the chat box. Speaking of hockey, Doug, why don't we go there next? Because it is Tuesday night, and we do have 10 games in the NHL this evening that we could talk about. Now here's where I'm going to start. And that's at the Garden with the Stars and the Rangers. So we've documented a lot on this show. The Rangers stink at home. They are 2-9-1 at home at the Garden, 2-9-2, whatever it is. They have been brutal there. The Stars, one of the best road teams in the league. Now, this was around -150 this morning, Doug, and it's trickled down now to -129. Why? Because the Stars are starting Casey DeSmith tonight instead of Jake Ottinger. So they have the backup playing. But, Doug, this guy's no slouch to Smith. He's 6-1 with a .207 and a .920 save percentage. That's fine by me. He's won when he's in there for the Stars. So I'm going to take them on the road tonight at the Garden against the Rangers, who, as we know, they never win at home. So we'll take the really good Stars.
2-8-1. So isn't this really a bet against New York more than it's a bet on Dallas? So the Otter being out probably doesn't do a ton, right?
Probably doesn't do a ton, but it did move. It moved it a little bit because, like I said, we saved a little bit of money here by DeSmith being the starter instead of Ottinger. We got it down in the 130 range, 129. So I really like Dallas tonight at the Garden against the Rangers. The other ones that I'm looking at for this evening, late night, Washington in LA against the Kings. The Caps have won 4 in a row. They have won 7 out of 8. They're playing their best hockey of the season. And they are, of course, the Kings are like the Rangers. The Kings have had all kinds of problems at home. They have never won at the Crypto. So we're going to get a small amount of plus money with the Caps tonight, plus 102 in LA against the Kings. A little late night 10:30 East play, Doug.
For Kings 3-4-3, so not quite the gross record that the Rangers have, but 3-4-3 is no fun thing either.
No. It is not a fun thing either. That's for sure for that. So 2 money lines for you. I do have one total. I thought about the over in the Lightning and the Islanders. And this morning, I kind of gravitated to it a little bit. But I'm backing off a little bit now, Doug, and thinking more towards the under aspect because the Islanders have stopped scoring goals. And in fact, what I might like even more now, I might like the Lightning on the puck line, to be quite honest with you. The Islanders have had a real bad stretch since that great road trip. Lightning have won 7 in a row. They're playing great hockey. They're not giving up goals. They're scoring a ton of goals. -1.5 at plus 180 for the puck line tonight. I could get behind that, or maybe the under 6, because the Islanders are now scoring 0 or 1 the last 3 or 4 games. They have not been putting the puck in the net.
No, yeah. Last 5 games, they've only scored over 1 once.
Yep.
So, got to be careful of that. What do you make of that? Is that really just sort of teams in a funk, or can it be like really just kind of coincidental because it's goalie dependent?
I think that they're in a funk, honestly, because when you watch the way that they played on the 7-game road trip where they won 6 games, they don't have the same jump to them since they've been home. And, you were locked in on one of those games, the 0-0 game with the Kraken that went to the shootout a week ago. That was part of this long homestand that the Islanders are on now. They're just not finding it. Now, they've lost some guys in the lineup. Palmieri and J.G. Pajot, 2 of their top 6 or 9 forwards have not been in there. Now, those guys aren't exactly, Palmieri scores a lot of goals for them, but that's not like losing Horvat or Barzell. They should still be able to score, and they have not been able to do that. So the Lightning are a little bit of a wagon right now. We might be able to catch them here laying the puck in a half, which they've been pretty good at covering lately, Tampa Bay, during this 7-game win streak. They've been lighting some teams up. So I kind of like that as well for puck line. And the Blackhawks puck line, Doug, in Vegas tonight. Now, of course, the Blackhawks have once again gotten on a nice little puck run here. They have covered their last 4 games on the puck line. The Knights have not been good covering the puck line. And the other storyline is, Doug, Carter Hart is making his first start in the NHL, and I believe it's 3 years. Of course, he was with Philadelphia and then was part of the sexual assault scandal with Hockey Canada's junior team from back a few years ago. So he's been out of the league. The Knights signed him last year. He's in the minors, and he's calling up and making his first start back in the NHL tonight. So you kind of have that going on. And the Blackhawks, who have been pretty good covering the puck line. You're getting a good price at it tonight at -113.
Wow. Look at you going dog puck line. You don't see that very often. I like that.
No, don't see the dog puck line. But you know this too, because Vegas, they really haven't gotten out to a good start over the first couple months. They have not played well, even at home.
No, they have not.
They haven't played well. So they've let some of these, maybe you want to call it lesser teams, hang around. And I don't even know if you could say lesser right now. These teams basically have almost the same record, the Blackhawks and the Knights. And you're giving me the puck and a half at not an astronomical price, I'll take it. So a lot of hockey tonight, Doug. I'm feeling the pucks tonight. Feeling good with the hockey. Any other games that you can get involved with this evening? You got Senators, Canadians. You have got Flames, Predators. The Canucks are in Colorado. They never lose. The Avalanche, Wild, and Oilers late night as well. And don't forget, Doug, you also have Maple Leafs and Panthers in Florida this evening. That is, of course, tonight. And after the game, make sure that you check out the Toronto Sports Rush channel. That is because they are going to have you all covered on the post game. Kyle, of course, and the crew tonight. That is part of the Bet Rivers Network. Instant post game reaction with EJ Radic and EJ and Pierre tonight on the Toronto Sports Rush channel. Bet Rivers Network after the Panthers and the Leafs this evening right here. As we found ourselves, we were able to load the rundown back up, Doug. We had to scramble there for a moment, but we were able to load the rundown back up. All right, there you go. Hockey tonight on a Tuesday. NFL, we are done with week 13, Doug. We are heading down the stretch. Last week of buys. I think it's really ridiculous that teams have buys in week 14, but hey, that is how it goes sometimes. You do have a bunch of teams that are still there. Of course, we do the extra point every Tuesday. Big theme from the following week. And I guess you could say, Doug, it's the word that Roger Goodell and the NFL offices always love to hear. That is the P word, parity, Doug.
I mean, that's my big takeaway is it's just reinforced. Obviously, dogs barked a lot, especially Thanksgiving, right? All four games, the dog won outright. That parlay paid what, 20? No, just Thursday was 22-1. Crazy. And that is something, your point, the Shield and the commissioner's office has loved for decades, who's ever in the chair, so to speak. So just reminder of that now. We'll get the blowouts like we did with Seahawks and Vikings, just because the quarterback play at times can be so horrendous and the Raiders are dysfunctional and all that. But, just be careful. Be careful. You're right. Some teams are peaking this time of year, right? So that's good if you're on the favorite. Last night was good because the Patriots had the right mindset, but you also, the Giants kicking the turf on a field goal and all. It was a hot mess, and you get the punt return early because it was 3-0, and it had the makings of a game that was going to land inside the number, even if New England won, and then key things happen. And but just a reminder, the NFL is very difficult for those reasons. So parity was a nice little reminder this weekend.
It certainly was. And look, you've got lots of teams in that 6-6, 7-5, right, 5-7, all right there in that mix. Only Betting Weekly Live could make me curtail my snow clearing before it was completed. I don't want to hear the word snow yet, Doug. I'm not ready for that where I am. So
this is high praise, though, from Petey, though.
It is high praise. We got to have you here every day at 4 o'clock East, Petey. That's what we like to see. You got to get your card set up for the evening. We will go for 2 as we usually do here with the NFL. We'll do it with college as well in a few minutes. But let's start 2 early looks at sides or totals for this week's games. Why don't we start, Doug, in the late window on Sunday? Rams, off the loss in Carolina, will be on the road again, this time in Arizona against the Cardinals.
I like the favorite here. I think the Rams, I watched that entire game. I liked the points. And look, I think give the Panthers credit. Dave Canales did a wonderful job. He basically just wanted to wear down the pass rush of the Rams. So in the third quarter, so the culmination, and then it really sort of looked the part in the fourth quarter. But that third quarter, Rams only ran 3 plays. Okay. Panthers ran 22, I want to say. And you're just grinding away because Bryce Young cannot throw because he's small unless he has a clean pocket and can see. So they basically have leaned on the run, and they have 2 good running backs. So that's sort of their MO anyway. And then that just gave the pass rush, resistance, and the O-line could protect, and that gave their good receivers time to get open. And then for Bryce Young. So that was a perfect game script. And I was really impressed. And I just think it's really hard to do against the Rams. And Stafford had a really bad game. You had the pick 6 to start things off. You had the fumble late. I don't think he's hit a wall or he's hurt. You're just going to have those clunkers. Frankly, we all have them at work from time to time. I know, Carver, you and I are an amazing duo of handicappers, but once in a while, we may give out some bad picks in one show here and there. So I think Stafford just had a bad game. I think it's a good bounce back spot. And I know Cardinals that's a sneaky, tough place to play on the road, but I think the Rams in a bounce back spot. It's back-to-back road games, but obviously they're not flying across the country like they did last week.
Right.
Cardinals were down big, fought back. I think the shine's wearing on this sort of Jacoby Brissett, Dan Marino pass-happy offense, and Gannon's days are numbered. So I think the Rams will be ready to rock. I think they're going to be flying around on offense in the turf there in Arizona.
I like it. Little bounce back for the Rams after a loss. Get themselves back in the mix here against the Cardinals. I like that a lot with the -8 on the road. Washington and Minnesota. As we like to say sometimes, Doug, not the prettiest game on the card, but there's always money to be made. Vikings -1.5, 41.5.
I mean, who the heck is dumb enough to lay points with the Vikings and Brosmer after seeing what happened last week?
No shot.
I am. But I haven't figured out. I'm thinking first half. Commanders, I got to go back and look at the entire season. Teams off a Sunday night like win or performance like that, I just wonder what's left in the gas tank the following week. I mean, look at the Rams. They had the big Sunday night win against the Bucks. Now, it wasn't draining like the game was this past Sunday for the Commanders, but they were a little flat in that game off a high profile win. So I think the Vikings have to figure out how to get some completions. My point is they're not facing the Seattle ferocious pass rush. And frankly, they were in that game until Brosmer pulled that ridiculous throw on 4th down where he just chucked it thinking like, oh, you can't take a sack on 4th down. Give yourself a shot. Well, what he did is he gave the defender a shot for a pick 6. I don't think we're going to see that calamity and that, comedy of errors. I think the Vikings first half is kind of what I want to jump on. But my thing is if they have the lead first half, are the Commanders going to rally? Do they care? There's a reason they went for 2. They have 3 wins. So I like the Vikings here. I think it's one of those, they're favored for a reason. Be careful what you last saw. This is a classic test of NFL handicapping at its finest. Forget what you last saw. Commanders looked competent and tough and resilient. Vikings look like the bad news bears out there. I think the Vikings are the right side.
Man, Brosmer in Seattle, that was a tough scene for him last week.
Special.
Only way to go is up after a performance like that. That's the only way that you can go. First one for me that kind of stuck out. Now, look, when you think Josh Allen and you think Joe Burrow, I can understand 52 and a half actually right now, even up to at Bet Rivers for this game. I mean, you want to see it, right, Doug? Up and away, lots of points, fireworks, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think you're going to get that on Sunday. I think in the second half against the Steelers last week, you got a preview of what McDermott and the Bills are going to want to do here over the last month because they've done it in December the last 3 or 4 years. They lean more on the running game. They try to keep Josh Allen more fresh for January. They try to keep their defense off the field because they're not very good. That's how McDermott likes to disguise that his defense isn't very good. He keeps them off the field, and he leans on a running game that you saw get going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Bengals are bad against the run. I can't figure out why the Ravens stopped running last week. I get it. They got down a couple scores. They got some touchdowns called back, but the Bengals cannot stop the run. I think the Bills are going to run the football a lot in this game, and 52 and a half is going to be very tough to get to, Doug, because I think that clock's going to be moving all day long.
And the Bills' strength, I mean, I know they have Josh Allen, but they run the ball really well. And that chews clock. I watched Sunday games with a really sharp bettor, and he was pretty big on the Bills Steelers under. He just thought that the bleeding of the clock, things like that, obviously 0-0 through first quarter is a really good start. Bengals defense, right? They all of a sudden have a defense. No, they don't. But I do think 52 and a half is a really big number, and it just takes a lot for those to hit. And the last thing you need is teams that go for it in fourth down, like the Bills and Bengals, and not convert. And now you just wasted 6 minutes. And so I think under I can see for sure.
Yeah, it's just got that Buffalo December feel to it as well. And look, it's still very early in the week to start thinking about weather, but 29 degrees, snow, winds 10 to 20 miles an hour in the below on Sunday. So, I mean, you don't see too many games get over 52 and a half like that when the wind's obviously more of a factor than the actual snow itself, but I think we'll see a lot of running. The other one for me, also in the total realm, but really I want to ask you about this game in general. You know, Texans-Chiefs Sunday night. Chiefs have gotten Chiefs at 6-6. Texans have gotten on a run now here. Their defense has been unbelievable. I think the Chief defense is maybe good enough to not let Stroud do much. Kind of like the under 41 and a half here, Doug. Could be like a 2017, 17-14 type of game on Sunday night.
This was almost my play, one of the two games. I like the under too. I think this Texans defense is for real, and I know the Chiefs defense is for real as well. And frankly, Mahomes, I mean, I know it's blasphemy, but his deep balls are not the same anymore. They're just a little off target, and that's what made him so special is on the run, the sidearm, and it was deep downfield, medium to long. And if you're not going to have pinpoint accuracy like, you know, like you were because you're finally becoming human, it's really hard to score a ton of points on this Texans team. Game management, I don't love with Ryans. I don't love Andy Reid's, but I don't know. Does this move your power rating, Carver, that Andy Reid plans to tickle the tonsils on every play?
Man, that's a good one from him. He's, that some of these guys come out with some good ones. Tickling the tonsils with Andy Reid. Oh man, they can't lose enough from me, Doug. It would be so great if Houston went in there on Sunday night and beat the Chiefs.
Bills fan, and you a little scared of having to open against the Chiefs? Well, I guess you guys wouldn't open against the Chiefs, but facing them again in the second round.
I'd feel just fine, Doug, if they were just completely out of the picture and I didn't have to think about them at all. Just
how about this? How about you finally get into the playoff? Finally know Mahomes and stuff, but you guys are like the 5 seed. Isn't that just perfect?
That's where it's trending. That's where it seems like it's going to be going for them. And it could be quite the path through Denver and New England. And maybe that's the path they need to finally travel to get themselves finally to a Super Bowl with Josh Allen there. We shall see. If you like what you see, as you should, make sure that you subscribe to the Betting Weekly Studios channel on YouTube, and make sure you check out all of our other shows, including released earlier today. Betting Weekly Dojo, Nigel Seeley and Neil Channing, as they discuss the differences in gambling culture between the UK and the US. I have to check that out now myself tonight. Nigel and Neil talking about that. Betting Weekly Dojo on the Betting Weekly Studios channel on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe right there. All right, let's also go for two, Doug, in college football, because look at the Amish electrician checking in. Texans money line, go big. We didn't get the Diggs ladder last night, Amish electrician. You say he was good up to 100. So I don't know if we can go big on the Texans money line. Good job, Amish electrician there. We go for two, Doug, in college football. It is conference championship week. We know the matchups in terms of there is a lot at stake for the college football playoff. And none bigger. Both teams, well, I guess both teams are in, or are they not in? Is Alabama in no matter what happens this Saturday? They play Georgia in Atlanta for the SEC title game, Doug.
I think they're in no matter what. The committee showed that last year when SMU, right, lost to the gun to Clemson. If as long as it's a respectable loss, I think Bama's fine. Things can change, though. Like if BYU wins, that changes things, because I don't think Texas Tech will be out.
Yeah.
Bama winning would hurt other teams. I like Georgia here. I think Bama's off an emotional win. I think Georgia's playing better. And I think Kirby in game, they just can't start out like down 21-0 like Kirby sometimes does in these big games. As long as he just gets through the first quarter, he's fine. And I think they will. I like Georgia here on a money line. I just think they get it done. Bama's good, and I wouldn't be shocked. It's just a regular play, but I like the dogs on the money line.
Dogs -2.5. Their money line play for you against Bama on Saturday. Now, the other one I had my eye on as well, Doug. And then you had it there too. So I'm going to be right with you on this. ACC title game, Virginia and Duke, Saturday night in Charlotte. Cavs -3.5.
I think the dark cynic in me has to play Virginia money line, because if Duke wins this game, Duke's probably not going into the playoff, and then the ACC will be held out. And that's a lot of money that the conference will not get. And so I'm not saying you're going to bring out Frank Drebin here as an official, but I do think you need to make sure Virginia gets the win. So maybe Virginia money line. I also think they're the better team. Duke's defense has impressed me at times. I think UVA is the play money line, and if you lose, you lose. So be it.
That might be a good way for them to, promote more of that new Naked Gun. They could have Liam Neeson go out there and with the referee shirt on, and he could pull a Frank Drebin out there.
Yeah, we can put Reggie Jackson as well. I mean, let's get it all.
It's tremendous. Got to get the queen. For me, Big 12 title game, Texas Tech and BYU. I backed BYU the first time these two teams played, and obviously that did not go very well for me. This game is at Jerry's World. Obviously, BYU will have some people there. They're going to have a good crowd, but this is going to be a pro Texas Tech crowd. The last 3 years in this title game, Doug, the favorite number one team in the Big 12 smashed the other team, covered, no problem. I think that Texas Tech does the same thing. And then you even factor in, Doug, and this is something you talked about earlier in the season with some of these coaching jobs. You now have this Penn State thing hanging over Kalani Sitake's head, too, as he heads into this game, and his players. And I think that means a little bit more at a place like BYU than maybe other places. So I think that's a lot to factor in here, and Texas Tech's just flat out better.
It's surfacing in the last 20 minutes or so. I think Sitake's staying, but I kind of leaned to the dog here. I was on Tech in the opener, and that line moved like crazy. I think BYU's just like age, and the problem is the defensive front for the Red Raiders. That's what concerns me. But I think the Cougs can hang around. They've had some impressive performances, honestly. Like that game at Iowa State where I thought they'd roll, and they came back in the second half, or roll over. I thought they would, and they came back in the second half. I don't know. I've been going back and forth on this game. It's crazy. I mean, this was the line in Lubbock earlier this year. Now it's a neutral and a similar line, but I see where this is. I'm probably not going to get involved.
I will tell you, I had not seen that in the last 20 minutes, the Satake stuff. And if that does happen, and it is, and now that could reverse that, Doug, where that fires the team up, that he's behind him, he's backing him, and maybe you get a little extra from the Cougs on Saturday. So that could change my whole Satake's thinking about Penn State angle. Isn't going to play as well now there on Saturday afternoon. The other one for me is Indiana, and it's the points. It's 4.5. really because they impressed me. The one spot that I'm leaning on here, Doug, is Indiana going to Oregon. And the way that they played in that game kind of says to me, they're not going into this game scared. They played Ohio State last year. They might lose this game, but I don't think that they're going to get smashed. I think this is going to be a tight game. There's a lot on the line, 1 seed. I'm sure both teams will get a bye anyway. Maybe they don't care. Indiana plus 4.5. I think over a field goal is too much for how well Indiana's played this year.
I think for me, it's the Hoosiers or pass. I think Zignetti wants this game so badly. They've been targeting. They are all business. Is it possible that there's a flat spot for the Buckeyes?
I agree with you. I think there's twofold there, Doug. Flat spot for the Buckeyes off Michigan, and you just said something that I think really you got to make a point on. This game means light years more to Indiana than it does to Ohio State. They do not care if they win the Big Ten championship. They know they're in the playoff. They won last year. They weren't the Big Ten champion. They know that they can win the national championship. Cignetti can run around saying I'm the Big Ten champion and 2 years after being in Indiana. And we know how much he loves putting feathers in his cap. So,
and he's trying to build a program, right? He's trying to build the new sort of powerhouse in the Big Ten. He's not trying to take his act elsewhere. I just wonder, how good Mendoza is. He was kind of against Oregon. Remember, he had the pick 6. Everyone's like, oh, the big drive against Penn State was like, yeah, well, they were 2 touchdown favorites, and he was stunk most of the game. He's had good stats, but they've been pummeling bad opponents. Like Sayan's got guys wide open, and they haven't faced anyone until last week. I don't know. I just think the quarterback play is not that good in this game. Sayan's been fine. Look, he's a freshman, all that good stuff. But he's like the 5th best player on his team. And Mendoza's been really, really good. He's really well liked and all that stuff. But some of the stats have been padded because Zignetti's going for the jugular. I just think it's going to be a really different game. I almost like the under here. I like Indiana maybe first quarter, first half. I just wonder if the defenses flex their muscles, because I do think both defenses are legit.
Do you think at some point during the night we can get a live look in of Diego Pavia and his mom and his family as they watch maybe both of these quarterbacks get smashed in a low-scoring 10-7, 13-10 game? Neither of them look very good, and we can get the celebrations from Pavia that maybe he's going to win the Heisman if both of these guys don't have a great night on Saturday.
You think Pavia's going to be on the couch watching this? He's going to be doing something. I don't know. He's going to be doing a telethon
on the couch, but he's
we're doing some sort of Instagram live feed and some sort of influencer. Man, that he is Johnny Manziel 2.0.
He is. He is. There you go. College football, big championship week ahead. Best bet time. Here we go. Best bet, the Daily Double on Betting Weekly Live. I told you at the top of the show, Doug, I'm going back to the bread and butter, and that is on the ice for me to try to get myself back in the win column here. On the best bets, I am taking the Dallas Stars money line in the Garden against the Rangers. The Smiths in goal, do not care. Rangers think at home, minus 129 for the Stars for me.
I like where your head's at, going back to basics, like blocking and tackling. Go with what you got you here, and that's the hockey. So I like it, and I will tail. I've been saying it all along. I think the Sixers absolutely rout the Wizards. Back-to-back, off a win. Washington's got no maturity. They're no Alex Sarr here. They're kind of a mess. Sixers off a loss. I think they're going to run them off the court as a beatdown.
There we go. So we take the Sixers minus the 13.5 tonight at Bet Rivers. We put it with the Stars money line in the hockey plus 242 for the Daily Double tonight on Betting Weekly Live. And I want to get back in the car. We had such a night. It was like every night, bang, bang, Daily Double. Now we got a little bit of, a lull. I want back in now, Doug. Let's go. The rest, I want to get it going tonight. And the Stars and the Sixers will get us
and that's
there.
what the plus 260's for. So that's good.
Yeah.
So let's get back at it. We're good.
Let's do it. Tremendous job, Doug. As always, of course, we'll be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. East, 1 p.m. Pacific, Wednesday night, big NBA slate. Got a little bit of hockey, more college basketball. There's a lot more games in that ACC SEC challenge that we will get to. And of course, we are still looking ahead to all the action in the football this weekend. Betting Weekly Live, Betting Weekly Studios, part of the Bet Rivers Network. Mike Carver, Doug Kezirian. Everyone have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.